How are your relationships going? How's the list of goals that you've got? How's that going? How are you doing? Do you feel validated and cared for? Do you feel like you're caring for yourself? Are you like me? I'm an anxious person. Are you one of us? Do you struggle with depression? Do you feel like you don't have any self-worth? You don't have any value? Do you give too much of yourself to other people? And do you do that far too often? Does everyone think that you're amazing? Do you hear things like, oh, she's literally the nicest person, or he's just the nicest guy, he'll do anything for you? Well, this is cool. It's a nice way to be, and it's the way that I've been all my life. But I'm 41, and my relationships aren't working, and I'm not achieving any of my goals. And then I feel despair, and then you go to a dark place, and eventually your relationships break down, and you realize that you're not achieving the goals, and it makes you feel empty. Is that you? Do you feel like that? Do you have trouble justifying doing something for yourself, whether it's a professional thing, spending time on yourself? It's easier, isn't it, to spend time fixing somebody else's problems? And it makes you feel great, doesn't it? Yeah? And it does. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm not saying that we should change everything about ourselves. I like who I am. And it's taken me a very long time to understand who I am. I am an anxious person. I have an anxious attachment style in relationships. I am needy, obsessive. I get depressed. I struggle with feelings of not being worth anything. And it makes me feel great to do stuff for other people all the time. And it's what I've done all my life. I have prioritized others' needs over my own. And what has it got me? Ultimately, those people, my friends, people I've worked with, they wouldn't have wanted me to do that. If they knew I was doing that, they would have told me to stop. But I never told them. I never told them that my needs were going unmet. And did you tell them that your needs were going unmet until you got to a point where you couldn't carry on anymore? Or maybe you got angry and resentful of the situation that you were in? This is about setting boundaries. And this is not news. I'm sure that you've heard this before. And I am certainly not the first person on YouTube or the first person anywhere to say to an anxious person that setting boundaries in all areas of your life is important and critical to your mental health. People often talk about this in the context of a romantic relationship, and we're going to cover that. But I think it applies to every area of your life. And it's very hard because people who are anxious and insecure, I know what that's like. And there are a whole host of things going through your head every minute of every day. When you walk down the street, you think people are looking at you and judging you and assessing you. And the reality of it is, and I'm sure you know this consciously, that nobody cares. Nobody actually cares about you walking down the street. Very few people would be looking at you or judging you in any social situation. But anxious people worry about these things, or at least this is my experience. And it's not something I've seen talked about very much. If you're an anxious person, do any of these sound familiar? Having a conversation with somebody and worrying about another conversation that's happening in the background, whether somebody might be offending somebody else, particularly with family members or friends. I'm always listening to everything that's going on around me and trying to control whether somebody might be saying something wrong to someone else. Well, newsflash, they're individuals. I don't have any control over what they can do, but I spent so much of my life stressing and trying to control all the situations that I was in because I want peace and I want everyone to be happy. I'm a people pleaser. And I'm a people pleaser in my personal relationships, in my romantic relationships. And it means that I don't set boundaries. Does that sound familiar to you? So you let it go, didn't you? When that thing happened that you didn't quite like, whether it was a friend or a partner or a husband or a wife or something in work, but you let it go, didn't you? And then it happened again, didn't it? And then you let it go again, didn't you? And what did you feel inside after that? Did you feel good? No, you didn't, did you? You felt a little bit, a tiny bit of resentment. But whose fault was that really? Because a secure person, a normal person, who isn't evaluating everything around them all the time and second guessing every situation and trying to control who's being polite, they would have said, that annoyed me. And could you not do it again, please? Or they would approach the subject. And I know people who are like this, and they're honest. They say what they think, and they don't worry about offending or upsetting somebody too much, especially when their personal space or their morals or values are being encroached upon. They're not afraid of saying what they mean and what needs to be said. And that's healthy. It's a really healthy way to be. And I know that I'm not healthy, and I know that we're not healthy in the way that we think, by bottling things up and putting our own opinions, values on the back burner for other people, all in the name of keeping the peace. How many times will you choose somebody else's goals over something that you really needed to do for you? How many times? When will it stop? How long are you going to live? I'm 41 years old, and it's taken me this long to realize that if I don't prioritize my needs, no one else will. And that goes for everything. Your professional development, where you are in the world, what you want to do, the things that are valuable to you, your romantic relationships. I have 3 long-term romantic relationships behind me, but I didn't set my boundaries with those people. And those relationships are all over. I can't even say that I could blame the other person. Have you been in the same situation? Where the resentment kind of builds, you start feeling more anxious, you can feel your mental health sliding again. Yeah, you know that feeling, don't you? But it comes down to saying what you need to say, when you need to say it, and prioritizing yourself. And it's that old phrase that we've heard a million times, you can't love another person until you can love yourself. But it's true. And loving yourself means respect. It's trust. You have to respect yourself and trust yourself and place emphasis on your values and your goals because they're important. What you want is important. And loving yourself and respecting yourself isn't just about the context of a romantic relationship. Again, this applies to everything in your life. Every relationship, interpersonal relationship that you will have is all about honesty and you prioritizing your needs because you are as valid as everyone else in the room. So how do we address this? How do you set boundaries? How do you explain to people that you're not just this really nice person? I'm sure you are a really nice person, aren't you? You're motivated, or you think you're motivated in the right way because of the right reasons. But actually endlessly trying to please everyone else around you at the expense of your opinions, that isn't being nice. It's actually a little bit toxic. And it's time it changed. And it won't lead to happiness. It hasn't led to my happiness. But now I understand. And I am making decisions for me first. That doesn't mean I don't care about everyone else around me. Of course I do. But the balance needed to come back a little bit my way. And does it need to come back a little bit your way as well? You have to ask yourself, are you working on your goals in your relationship, in your job, in your career, in your personal life with your friends? Are you working on your goals at all? Or are you just running around and working on everyone else's goals all the time? Do you keep telling yourself, I'll get to that thing that I need to do? Does that sound familiar? Well, no. It's time to start saying to people, I'm sorry, I don't have time for that right now. I've got something that I have to do. And if people don't understand, tell them. Tell them why. Be honest. I know that we've got a much better appreciation of mental health and people's personality types than ever before, which is a great thing. But I've realized that there is still we're still afraid to say how we're really feeling, particularly if we're insecure, anxious people. It's difficult for us to say these things. I've started having these conversations with people in all walks of my life, and no one has judged me for it. In fact, it's amazingly powerful being honest and open about how you're feeling and your weaknesses. Sharing your honest struggles, feelings and weaknesses, even with strangers, doesn't make you seem weak. It is not a weakness. It is empowering. People will actually perceive you to be stronger for having the courage to say things that they would never say. People walk around with masks on, and the moment you disarm them and you tell people, these are my problems, these are the things I struggle with, these are my needs, these are my wants, this is how I have to be to live a happy life, it's amazing. Most people will see you in a completely different light, and you will be perceived to be very strong, because these are not easy things to say, and they are things that people don't say. Even in their romantic relationships, they don't say these things. They keep it inside to try and project an image of strength. But it's not strength. Strength comes from honesty and openness and explaining how you're feeling about what is good for you and what is not good for you. These are things we really struggle with, and they affect our relationships, don't they? They affect our relationships in ways that we feel that we can't, there's no way out. How do we stop this from happening over and over again? And how do we live a peaceful, happy life that puts one foot in front of another to get to our goals? And all too often, the anxiety and the depression and the insecurities, they come with another friend, don't they? And that's guilt. I wake up guilty every morning. I don't even know what the guilt is for, but I feel guilty. This is what is motivating me, and probably motivating you, to do things for everyone all the time. At 41 years old, I've made a decision that guilt is a useless emotion. It's heavy, and I have to carry it around everywhere with me. Is it there with you all the time, every day, like a big rucksack on your back full of stones that you're trying to carry around? It's just there, like just creating this atmosphere and this mood in your mind, this latent guilt that just hangs around. Do you know what I'm talking about? Well, you should never feel guilty for needing the things that you need and wanting the things that you want. Unless, like, it's, serial killing, then yes, you should feel guilty. But apart from that, being a good person and wanting to go about your life in a certain way, what do you feel guilty for? Where's it coming from? It's coming from somewhere a long time ago, isn't it? You had something when you were growing up in your childhood and you didn't feel valid, did you? That's where it comes from. And you've been carrying it around ever since. It takes time to change this. I'm on a journey of trying to change this. And it's not like it's all gone. I didn't just click my fingers and all of this stuff has gone. No, I'm still carrying it all around, but I recognize it for what it is. And that is why I'm doing this YouTube channel, because it's something I should have done a long time ago. But I ran around pleasing other people, doing things I didn't really want to do, because I felt guilty and anxious and insecure about my decisions. And I've done the same thing in my relationships. Now, I don't want to be a bad person. I want to carry on being a really good person. I love being the guy that everyone says, this guy is a lovely guy. But I need to balance this a little bit more in my favor and start looking out for myself. So I'm trying to shed the guilt. And we will talk about how we do that in future videos.